K&C Masterpiece right here on 105 through the Fan. Right now, we bring to you NBC5 Sports Director, Emmy Award winner, irrational Duke hater, and guest I would not have booked. It's Newy Scruggs. Good morning, sir.
Hey, baby. You okay? Are you okay?
You know I'm not, and I feel like that's why you're here.
I mean, it happened last year, so, I mean, it's not a shock. Did this before.
It did. I was at that
walking
game.
Through that door. Coach Kane walking through that door. So that's the first thing we have to reach the acceptance part. I did it when Hubert lost a 19-point lead to BCU, got fired. I've accepted it, and I'm good. You all may need to fire your guy, too, because we're seeing two dudes do the same thing. But if you don't want to do what Carolina did and take real action and understand that we can't keep having this happen, then you be my guest and continue with John Shot.
And you think it's going to end the exact same way next year again?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know who's coming in. He's like Coach Cal now. You know, Duke's not what you grew up with. You know,
that's true.
Used to be guys that wanted to stay here, the Wojos and the Bob Hurleys. You know, Greg Kubek, the good white star that hung around forever and a day, like Danny Ferry. Now you're just buying these dudes that come in here, claim us the brotherhood, these Cooper flags that are here for less than 9 months. I'm disappointed in what Duke basketball has become. It's not what I grew up with, or you either.
You know, I told my wife, it's funny that you say that about the white player. I told my wife when we were watching the game, I was like, oh, yeah, Duke has a long history of hateable white players, from Christian Laettner to J.J. Redick to Grayson Allen. I was like, oh, yeah. We've had plenty of agitating white players to other teams over the years.
Danny Ferry. Don't forget the great National Player of the Year, Danny Ferry, now number 35.
Danny Ferry is a good one. Do you have any other helpful recommendations, or are you just here to be like UConn in the second half and dunk on me?
No. I mean, look, you and I both get this. All right? There's joy in watching your team win, Duke for you, Carolina for me, and there's joy in watching Carolina lose. You know you had fun watching that VCU comeback. You know
I did.
You did. In the same arena where you escaped Siena, then you guys stuck around and watched Carolina get beat. Oh, it was embarrassing. I was like, he's got to go. I had to go to dinner that night. I was a cowboy. He's got to go. Can't have it. I'm done. I'm finished. Thank you for beating Coach K twice at Cameron Indoor to end his career and then sit at home. Thank you, Hubert. 2 of the biggest 5 wins ever. But we can't do this anymore. But you guys are continuing it, and I'm happy. I'm happy that you're going to continue with John Shire.
Because you think it's going to end up with another catastrophic loss, and we're going to do this same thing all over again, and you're going to be like, what about now, John Shire? You ready to fire him?
Well, I don't, you guys operate differently than Carolina. So I don't know. I mean, Johnny Dawkins should have gotten that job over John Shire anyway.
I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to argue that.
The AD wanted Johnny Dawkins, but Coach K wanted John Shire. But Johnny Dawkins was the first major star that agreed to come play for Coach K, which saved his. I'm so old. I remember when people wanted to fire Coach K when they weren't better than Wake Forest. They were the 4th team in North Carolina, where they get beat by 40 by Ralph Sampson, Terry Hobbs, Virginia Wahoos, and people wanted to fire. But Johnny Dawkins helped save the day with Billis and Mark Allery and Tommy Amaker, and they came down to Dallas in '86 and should have won it all. They should have won it all. But they didn't, and Mike Krzyzewski said, I wish I was a better coach for these guys, because he was a young coach. And obviously he turned into an amazing coach, a Hall of Fame coach, and he got better. John Shire's not getting better. John Shire's looking like Jason Garrett, where you just sitting here looking at a smart guy that can't figure it out.
Wow.
Will Coach K ever cut the cord and not be associated with Duke basketball again, or is he always going to have a voice in what they do?
He should always have a voice in what they do. You don't get rid of the man to help build this brand what it is. You listen to him, you talk to him. Same thing with what you watched at North Carolina and Roy Williams, but and before that, Coach Dean Smith. So they built it so you would listen to them. But I just thought that Johnny Dawkins had earned it. Yeah. I mean, Coach K's not who he is without Johnny Dawkins. He needed Johnny. Johnny was the one who turned it around. The guy who allowed everybody to say, you know what, you can go there and play. Because at the time in '82, when Dean Smith won it all and then Valvano wins it all in '83, And then you got Virginia going to Final Fours in '83. I mean, Coach K was cold product. Tom Butter saved this dude's bacon, but it was Johnny Dawkins. So if there was anybody who sat next to him and earned the spot, it was damn near Johnny Dawkins. I just found that to be very, very distasteful. But, hey, that's just me.
Now, there was a UConn fan who had to go to the ER after the game after he completely tore his Achilles celebrating the win. Worth it?
God don't like ugly.
Oh,
but I understand the emotion because when the kid hits the shot, I'm screaming downstairs in the living room, and my child runs downstairs. She's like, "Is everything okay?" "Oh, yeah. Daddy just saw a miracle happen, but I'm okay. We're good. Which it was as much as a celebration I had last year in my kitchen when Duke got lost to Houston, but it was right up there.
yeah, I was at that game against Houston last year, and it was pretty soul-crushing, but that's been the MO this time of year, like you mentioned with the Carolina Final Four game.
I'm going to say this, okay? 36 years ago, Christian Laettner hit an amazing shot over Tate George, and Duke beat UConn in New Jersey to go to the Final Four. My frat brother and I, we were sitting in Wellens Hall at Pembroke State University. He jumps up, and he's rubbing it in my face. I'm just pissed. And after that game, I called him. He goes, "Say, Newy, I'm not talking to you right now." And he hung up. I called my other frat brother. I said, "Man, do a three-way. He about to get this whooping. This is 36 years in the making. You going to take this grief from me." So I watched a lot of stuff. When Kentucky hits the shot 92, I called him. I'm like, "Dude, you going home? I told you it's not going to be no back-to-back. This is over. This is ended." Laettner hits that shot, man. Phone rang. I wouldn't answer. I had to unplug the phone, man. Had to unplug the phone. This pettiness is real.
Yeah.
Between Duke and Carolina, man. We live for this pettiness. I made a lot of phone calls. I had a lot of people on Facebook I had to get in touch with. Even the person who blocked me for the last 4 years, I had to call him. And do you not know how many people called me when Chris Jenkins of Villanova hit that shot?
Yeah.
Fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a hard day, brother. That was a hard day because I was in between the set at Channel 5. So we're in a break. I go back. I watch Jenkins hit the shot. I got to go back and do the show. I got to go back and do the show. Get on TV, man. It was hard, brother. It was hard. Yes, this is hard, man. I grew up on this stuff. This stuff is real. The pettiness is there. Because I remember when Duke had nothing, and we used to joke, win a championship and talk to us. Then they ended up winning 2, and that was when they were like, Mike's got 2, Dean's got 1. That was some hard years, man. Some hard years.
In 2022, I remember I turned off my phone at the end of that Final Four game against Carolina. When I turned it back on, I had FaceTimes from Jesse Holley. I had messages. I had everything just waiting to dunk on me. I mentioned yesterday a girl I dated like 25 years ago who went to UConn commented on my timeline on Facebook. I can't escape this.
Hey, man, I've been there. It's your turn. But
Yeah.
I've been there. It hurts. It's not fun, but it's what we do. But it makes the glory of why you watch this thing so intently. And I tell people, I love living in Texas. I've lived in Texas most of my life. But my time spent in Carolina, just what it means. This is what we did, because when I lived there was no professional sports at all. The Hornets weren't there. The Panthers weren't there. This was as professional as it got. And there were 2 things you did in North Carolina. People ask you, who was your team and who was your driver? Who was your college team and who was your NASCAR driver? That's what you needed to know. That's what people wanted to know. And you had to choose sides. And when I was growing up, ain't nobody choosing, Duke.
Who was your NASCAR driver, though?
You know, I was a petty person until I became a Jeff Gordon guy. When I had to start covering it, because my first job was at WBTW-TV in Florence, South Carolina.
Hold on, pause. How are you a Jeff Gordon guy, but you aren't a Duke guy? That feels the same.
Great. This is great. I'm glad you said it. So when I first started covering the sport, Jeff was a rookie. It was his rookie year. And I had to get to learn things, and I would ask Jeff. And because nobody knew who he was just the nicest guy. I talked to Jeff in the infield before anybody knew who he was, back when he had that goofy mustache. So I got to know Jeff Gordon before he became Jeff Gordon. It was Jeff Gordon and it was Kenny Wallace who were the rookies that year. Jeff had the 24 DuPont and Kenny had that Dirt Devil black and pink car. So, I was on the Jeff Gordon thing before anybody knew who that dude was.
And that mustache was not a good look for him, was it?
Well, yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But, starting there, and that was my first job in 1992, man, having to learn about NASCAR. So Joe Gibbs first got into it, and I had to figure it out. I didn't know anything except for the fact that they had good food at the track, and so I always showed up hungry, and I'd get a lot of cigarettes from my friends who liked to smoke, and the smokeless tobacco because they gave it out like candy around there.
They did. Yeah, they did. They definitely did around those tracks.
Man.
Hey, Newy, I just saw Jim Nill, according to Leah Simakopoulos from the Morning News, is now getting an extension. Can you rank the GMs in the DFW area?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Chris Young is number one because he's got a championship. At the end of the day, you win a championship around here. I mean, that's there.
Golden.
As much as I love Jerry, the championship happened before a whole lot of folks could, were you guys born or were you just in toddlers or?
We were born.
I was in high school, Newy. I was in high school.
Okay, you're in high school. Okay, I was just saying because I covered one of those Super Bowl teams. I'm that old. Damn. I had hair. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I was there at Jimmy's last year. I got to cover that team. That's when they put Tom Landry in the Ring of Honor. Man, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. So, so I would go. I would go him number 2, Jerry number 2, Jim's number 3, and that's the way. That's me. That's the gold medal stand right now. So that's it. But
until Michael Finley gets the GM job for the Mavericks,
he should. I mean, I don't get that why. I mean, here's Finn, who worked for the team, was an all-star for the team, was the guy that Dirk and Steve Nash basically learned from. Then he went to the Spurs and learned under that organization. We've seen how many GMs and people they've had from the Spurs organization run things. Why wouldn't you want Michael running? I don't get it. And you're talking about a former player. We've seen a whole bunch of former players be able to be in charge of organizations that play for the Spurs. People like Vinny Del Negro and Sean Marks. You want to tell me that Michael Finley is not a guy who's there? And then I've heard some clown say, "Oh, you know what, man? Michael Finley, man, he went to our rival. He disrespected the Mavericks." I'm like, please understand what happened. Michael Finley was signed to a contract extension, and then they decided that they wanted to let him go. And afterwards, Michael had 2 choices he went to. It was Miami and San Antonio. Now, had he gone to Miami, he'd have been a part of the team that beat the Mavs in 06, but instead he went to the Spurs. There was another team that beat the Mavs, and he won a championship. Like, what do you think he's supposed to do, start with the Charlotte Bobcats? He's going to go to a contender. But the Mavs decided they didn't want him. They wanted Jerry Stackhouse, and you know what? It worked out just fine for everybody.
Do you think Kevin's going to be okay? Is he going to get past this by next year?
What's my mourning period like, you think?
Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just driving through downtown Dallas. I hit a dead spot. Say again for me.
I said, do you think Kevin's going to be okay? And he asked how long his mourning period should be.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm losing here, man.
All right. Hang up on this guy.
Yeah, we're done with you, Newy.
We're done with him.